thanks for all your comments on the last video. I guess to get all this started, I was looking through an alternate reality, said something like how your life has been, as a suggestion. And that's probably a good place to start, how my life has been. So I'm going to try and go really quickly through the last 10 years and try not to go on tangents because I keep trying to rehearse this and it just doesn't go well. So I'm going to gloss over some things and I'll probably get some things wrong because I'm not really thinking about it that much and some of it happened so long ago. My memory's not that great. So yeah, it's going to be as fast as I can go and try not to get on any tangents. And if you want to know about a particular area, give me some comments and I'll try and get around to them and just do a big rant about individual things. So yeah, the last 10 years is my adult life. I don't feel like an adult, but apparently that's what I am. I'm 28, so technically I've been an adult for 10 years, but it turns out your brain is still sorting itself out at least until you're 30, so... And I definitely think my brain has not figured itself out. Anyway, before I get into that, quick stuff about me. If you don't already know, I'm half Japanese, half Australian. I live in Australia. I don't speak Japanese, but I'm learning. And you know, I'm going to Japan later, and I can talk about that later. But yeah, so I mostly seem white. I think everyone sees me as white. I'm pretty sure. But I do Japanese things without realizing, just because, yeah, mum's Japanese, and I just picked up things randomly from her. And then, because I'm in Australia, I mostly hang out with my dad's side of the family. I don't see my mum's side so much. And so my dad's side is conservative Catholics, and I went to a private Catholic girls' school for 13 years. So that might give you some background about how I've been brought up, and so on. I think that's the main stuff. So let's get into it. I graduated school in 2006. So 2007 is where we start this. I'm just going to go through like work, study, mental health, relationships, maybe a few different things. So work-wise, McDonald's for a year. Good first job, but I'm not doing food ever again. I would just... Yeah, thoughts of violence. For study, I went to Sydney University, doing a combined Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts. In that first semester, I did maths, psychology, Japanese, and religion. The religion unit was on Asian religions, so like Shinto and Buddhism. That was interesting. But I quit after that first semester because I just realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I got my first diagnosis of depression that year. I had been depressed in high school, but no one knew because I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know to ask for help for feeling sad. It just seemed weird. No one picked it up about me. Yeah, and I managed to dig myself out of that. So yeah, my first official diagnosis was 2007, and I went and saw a psychologist who was kind of useless. And yeah, at the time, I think that's when I found out what asexuality was, or ACE for short. Yeah, I think around then is when I heard about it, so that's probably when I started identifying that way. Yeah, the second half of that year, after I quit uni, was just in the dark, being depressed, probably knitting, and doing art stuff. 2008, so work. I started work at Kodak Express. So, you know, we did film and chemical printing processes. I also learned Photoshop there. That business eventually died, I think. But it was good while it lasted. Kind of a laid-back job, not well paid. I think he might have underpaid us, technically, but it was a long time ago. Work Choices was around then, so who even knew their rights? For study, I went to COFA, College of Fine Arts at UNSW, which is where I'm studying now. It's called Art and Design now, though. But yeah, I went to COFA. Again, I only lasted 1 semester. So much bullshit. And Dadaism, and I can rant about that. If I go on, this will go too long. So yeah, I lasted half a year at COFA and then spent the rest of the year being depressed again. Went to a different psychologist, and I ended up seeing this psychologist for a few years. I also started on meds, and if you've seen my very early YouTube videos, I did some on... Oh, Hopi. I did some... He's so cute. I did some videos about how the antidepressants were affecting me when I took them, and they were a bit crazy. That was Zoloft, and fuck that drug. Yeah, so I started taking meds, and yeah, I was still identifying as ace. Yeah, so 2009 to 2012, it gets a bit blurry in my head. That's the period of time it took me to do my Bachelor of Music, majoring in Composition and Music Production. I started in the diploma and then transferred to the Bachelor because I didn't have a whole lot of music experience before then. So that was, I was still at Kodak for work. Mental health was a bit all over the place. I'm gonna cough again. Yeah, my mental health was a bit all over the place, but I managed to mostly keep shit together. But that's also the year that I met my ex. To be clear, I've dated 3 guys. The first one's my ex. This is so I don't have to use their names and shit. The first one I call my ex, because he's the one who hurt me. The other guy's like, you know, I don't think they deserve to be called ex. To me, ex sounds really negative. So only the first one I call that. The second one I call mouse, and the third one I call boy. So just to be clear, if I say ex, I only mean the first one, okay? So yeah, I met him. I'm not gonna say too much about that because I will go on forever. But 2010, I moved out with him. It was a terrible fucking experience. Don't get me started or this will go for an hour. I came back home in 2011. I think that year I also did Santa photography just as like a Christmas job. I think I was still at Kodak then. But yeah, that was kind of fun. Interesting. Kids don't actually like Santa, it turns out. Yeah, 2012 also, that's the year I graduated, but I also got a job at, I guess I can say, I worked at Officeworks. So yeah, 2012 is when I got that job. I was working in print and copy. I would later go on to become the print and copy, knowing everything person. What do you call that? I was part-time. It's supposed to be a full-time person who knows everything about print and copy, but I don't know. My brain picks up things about machines, and I guess I was the only person paying attention because it is retail after all, and most of the workers don't give a shit or can't figure these things out. I've still got friends at Officeworks though, and they were the cool people. But don't get me started on Officeworks and why I left, because that'll go on forever as well. And at the end of 2012, I dumped my ex. While I was dating him, I had a lot of, like, I thought I was demisexual, and I could rant about that as well. But I have learned things since then. I mean, maybe demisexual wasn't the right thing. I didn't know about things like romantic attraction and platonic attraction, and I think there might even be another one. Like, so there's romantic, platonic, sexual attraction. I think, I don't know, I'm still learning all this stuff. I mean, it turns out asexuals can sleep around heaps and whatever. They can get horny, they do everything. It's just that the thing that makes you asexual is you're not sexually attracted to someone or something or whatever. And it's a bit hard to get my head around, but I think I get the distinction now. So I thought I was demisexual for that time, but maybe I'm not, and we'll explore that later, because I'm going on again. But yeah, so 2012 I dumped my ex. 2013 was a nightmare year, and I could rant about this for ages as well. But the good stuff, I had my first proper performing band called Winter Gaunt, and I can talk about that and how that went. I learned so much stuff being in that band. Yeah, but okay, so work, I'm still at Officeworks. For study, in my previous relationship, I had thought maybe I need to be the moneymaker because he's kind of useless, so I signed up for a Bachelor of Mechatronic Engineering and Medical Science. Because hey, that sounds like something you could get a decent job with, right? And also cyborgs, you know, you've got the robots, you've got the medicine, and you shove them together and you can help paraplegics walk maybe with that. Or you could build an army and conquer the planet. But I only lasted a few weeks in that because I realized, no, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna dedicate my life to this fantasy of bullshit and making money. Yeah, my mental health has been so fucked up. Anyway, so after I quit that, I eventually went back to AIM to study audio engineering. I also, that's the year that I dated Mouse, but I only dated him for a month. And I feel bad about it, because, like, the poor guy. But we're still friends. Out of the three, I still talk to him. So it's not all bad. Yeah, let's move on before I get carried away. Also that year, I did a live sound internship, but and also that year, I bumped into my ex again, and like an idiot who has never broken up with someone before and didn't figure out that, you know, there's a reason you broke up with him, you fucking idiot. It was a terrible year, and I won't get into it right now. Needless to say, I was stupid and I let him get in my head, and eventually I came to my senses, and no one has been able to do that shit to me since. You live and you learn. So yeah, 2013, fucking terrible year, but 2014 was a much better year. That year, so work, still at Officeworks, study, still at AIM, but music, I did an internship at a recording studio, and that was kind of fun, but that's also when I realized actually I didn't want to be a audio engineer. So good and bad things with that. I was doing okay. That's when I started Rainbow Death Ray, which is probably my most successful band so far. Yeah, and I took so much of what I learned from Winter Gaunt to run that band. That band, Rainbow Death Ray, is like me doing most of the work, most of the writing the songs, most of the organizing, everything. Like, I've got so much I could talk about with that. Yeah, and then that year... Why are you offering so much? What time is it? Are people coming home? No, I don't think so. It would be really early. 2014 is when I met Boy, and I don't want to excite anyone, but we met in the BDSM scene, and you can be asexual and be interested in that, because like it's kind of like the gothic thing, you know. Some people think it looks like you're whatever, but I found it really interesting as a dynamic, you know, the power dynamic and so on. So I could talk about that, but I don't want to talk about too much, because inevitably the BDSM scene is kind of like, on the one hand, yes, it doesn't have to be all about sex, but inevitably everyone talks about sex all the time, so it was a novelty for a bit, but I got over that. Anyway, so he's called Boy for a reason. Yeah. I'm not going to talk too much about that in general, I think. I don't really feel comfortable saying too much at this point, because people will get weird about it. But yeah, it was an interesting time for me, and it was a good year, and blah, 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 blah. Now, 2015 is when the current mess that I'm in begins. it starts off fine. I got a job, I was a sample coordinator for a textile company. No more retail, no more dealing with customers. Yeah, so that was good, but you know, it turned out to have some downsides. But yeah, so that's work. I stopped studying at AM because, as I said before, I realized I didn't want to do audio engineering. Mental health. Oh my god, should I get to that yet? No. First, I was doing good. Rainbow Death Ray was doing good. We decided to do our EP, and you can listen to that for free on Bandcamp. And I worked so hard. I think that's the biggest project I've ever done, the Rainbow Death Ray thing, because I was the recording engineer on it. See, I went to AIM and I learned all these skills, and I only used it for me. I don't think I could use it if someone paid me to do it. If it's for me, I can do all these things. Same with composition. I can't write music for other people, but for me, sure. So yeah, I did the recording engineering and the editing, but then I sent it off to the recording studio where I had interned at, and they mixed and mastered it for us. And we crowdfunded it. That was insane. People were so supportive. And yeah, I like the results. I think it went really well. But I was working so hard because I had my day job, and then I had the Rainbow Death Ray EP job, and I was burning out so badly. And then my grandparents died, and that's why I'm fucked up, because I think I had no emotional energy to deal with it. It's also the first time I've ever had a human close to me die. I mean, my Japanese grandma died when I was younger, but I wasn't that close with her. I am named after her, but, you know, like, not living in the same country, hardly ever seeing each other. I was also quite young. So yeah, my Australian grandparents, when they died, I was a lot closer to them, and I'm still fucked up thinking about it. I went straight into depression so badly. I think, like, the worst part was not so much the death, it was watching the deterioration, and then, I'm sorry, like, I get fucking emotional. Nursing homes are fucking depressing, and, like, I'm hoping that, I mean, assuming I don't kill myself early, I'm hoping that when I'm older we have euthanasia legalized, because I'm not fucking going through that. I don't want to see my parents go through that. It was terrible watching my grandparents go through that. So yeah, I went into the worst depression, and it's been going for 2 years. I can't believe I'm crying. I haven't cried in a little while, so... Yeah, I'm really bad at controlling my emotions now. They just... But yeah, so the rest of 2015 was difficult. I did have to cancel one gig, and then we got up to 2016. I had to stop working because, like, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I got so bad that, you know, I was thinking about suicide a lot. I was driving home from Bandprac one day, and I was going through Sydney Harbour Tunnel, and I just had this thought, like, you know, I could just fucking crash the car into the wall and I would probably die. Hopefully I wouldn't live with injuries. But I managed to keep my shit together and get home, and then I just sat in the driveway like, this is fucked. And then I think, but I didn't know what to do, because psychology, I had been seeing my psychologist on and off for many years over this period, because, you know, I was confused for a lot. Yeah, there's some stuff with my ex. I think I took some medication because I was trying to deal with that, not realizing he was the problem. But anyway, I was seeing my psychologist on and off for a long time, but I got to a point where she just wasn't helping anymore. She thought my problem was anxiety or something, because I was using a Fitbit to keep myself healthy and, you know, tracking my moods. And she said I was checking, and I'm like, I'm fucking not. That's not the issue here. So I stopped seeing her, and I realized that psychology, you know, the CBT therapy thing, it was good for some things, and I think my head is on straighter than it used to be. But what I was feeling now was just not, you know, I can think my way around things, but I would still feel shit. So I ended up, you know, My doctor, actually, I think this is the end of 2015. My GP gave me some medication, or I was still on some brain farting. See, I'm emotional. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Yeah, my GP had given me some medication, and now I'm rambling, and this is going to go on for a while because I started crying, but whatever. Keep your head straight. Yeah, I was on Cipramil or citalopram. They're the same thing. My doctor increased my dose and sent me to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist was shit because she just wanted to talk to me all the time instead of listening. And I was like, look, I think this drug isn't working. I've been on it for years and I'm still getting depressed. And it turns out that my eating problems and my weight loss were caused by that drug. So, you know, I tried the psychiatrist thing and it didn't work. And I just, you know, I was like, well, that's it. There's no help for me. But Dad talked to one of my uncles who is a doctor, and he knew a guy who knew a guy. And so I got him to see a male psychiatrist, which from the start, first time I got depressed, I wanted to see a male psychologist because I just don't understand chicks. Probably a narrow way to think, but I finally got to see a male psychiatrist, and he's the first guy who like made sense and didn't try to bullshit me. You know, he's like, look, everyone reacts to these drugs differently, and this might not work, we'll go through some things, and if you say something, I'm going to believe you, and whatever. So he took me seriously. We tried so many drugs, and I guess I'll detail them later, but long story short, yeah, so the medication, some of the medication was really fucking up my ability to do anything, so I had to stop working. I realized on one day when I was just so tired because of this drug and I could barely function, so I had to stop working. I also stopped the band. I did stay with Boy for a bit longer, but I had actually lost the feeling before I got depressed, I think. But you know, it was kind of fun, and I thought for sure he would break up with me. And then also when I did get depressed, I thought, well, maybe I just don't have the feeling anymore because of the depression. So I stuck around, but eventually I just realized there's actually other things going on in this relationship. It's not just the depression. And yeah, I broke up with him. I think that was 2016. Yeah, a year ago, that would be right. Yeah, so 2016 was really difficult. And after I stopped working, I just kind of, you know, sat around for a bit. And eventually I applied for welfare, but, you know, coming from a conservative family and a reasonably well-off family, I just, like, you know, I feel a bit of shame associated with being on welfare. And then it turns out that the welfare system is hideous. It's really cruel, and they fucked me around, and I'll maybe talk about that. But I did eventually end up on welfare. And then seeing my psychiatrist, he reckoned I should go back to study because, you know, I guess a bit of structure and you know, retail is not the place for me, and even the textile job, it was too easy for me. So he's like, well, you should try and get a higher qualification because your mind needs this, and maybe you'll be able to get a more intellectual job that'll, you know, keep this shit together. So I went back to Kofa to do a Master of Art, and that's what I'm doing now. I've managed to stick to it. It's been really difficult, but yeah, you know, I think the art degree is good for me. I also went to Japan last year, and that was really good just to get away from things. And also the medication I was on at the time seemed to be working. And I actually put on some weight. I finally put on some weight. It turns out that one I was on for years was the reason that I couldn't put on any weight. You know, the braces for 6 years didn't help, but the medication is what really killed my appetite, and we didn't figure that out until my dose increased, before I had the new psychiatrist. But yeah, so I those meds, while I was in Japan, I actually put on some weight, but when I came back, I crashed again. And that's how, when I did my, you might have seen my lanterns video, that I was feeling so shit, and so I made that because it just said, you know, just let me die kind of thing. But yeah, so art's been good for me. And then I guess without elaborating too much more on that, we get up to this year. Last year with Kofa, I did part-time, but this year I've done full-time and I made it through. It made me sick. You can see on my Patreon I posted, it's a public post, I posted one of my artworks which took so long, and that's the reason I'm sick. Because I was working on that so hard and I got stressed and I didn't realize I was stressed, and my immune system and blah 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 blah. But this year I sold my first artwork, which was kind of cool, at the local gallery. Yeah, so achievement. I'm achieving things. I still feel like shit and I still don't want to be here, but I'm actually achieving things. Yeah, I'm doing better learning Japanese. But one of the difficult things is I'm not taking medication anymore. I've tried so many things, you know, SSRIs, SNRI, tricyclics, it's a melatonin thing, what was it? Valdoxin. I tried something with lithium. God, I've just tried so many medications, and either they didn't work, or most of the time they fucked me up worse than just having depression would be. You know, if you're taking a med and you don't feel depressed anymore, but you're still in bed every day, what's the fucking difference? You know, you have no life anyway. So we kind of realized, I mean, we're pretty sure that my depression is now more biologically based than psychological, though I do obviously have psychological issues. But you know, not being able to get up in the morning is classic biological depression. And I didn't even realize for a long time that that could have been part of depression. I just thought I was lazy. But yeah, no, I struggle with mornings so much. And then yeah, all these meds, I had these reactions to them, and all kinds of reactions for different medications. And yeah, I just thought, look, I can't do this anymore. So I'm kind of in this situation where psychology is no use, the medication is no use, so what else is there but to just try and keep my shit together and sleep, diet, exercise, trying to keep myself busy with uni, trying to have an outlet with art and music, you know, if my throat ever gets better and I can sing again. I'm a bit of a rut, and that's where I'm at. And I wasn't supposed to cry, and I wasn't supposed to go on such a tangent towards the end. Fucking half-hour video, eh? So yeah, that's my last 10 years, in a nutshell. A pretty big fucking nutshell. I guess maybe it's more like a coconut shell. And you could just grab it and whack someone in the head with it. So, yeah, it got a bit dark. I try to be cheerful talking to the camera and, you know, in everyday life, but these days it's a lot harder for me to stop this from happening. You know, like I think I smile as a bit of a defense mechanism, because like I'm fucking crying and smiling and laughing at the same time, but I feel like shit. Anyway, what do you think? Like, is there anything in particular in my fucked up life you want to know about? Yeah, I'll put all my links below again, and I'll add in the Winter Gaunt thing, and yeah, just tell me what you think. Next week I have some time to myself, I think, so I might pre-record a few videos just in case uni gets in the way of doing the weekly blog. Yeah, I think I'll just record as much as I can and then schedule them weekly. So these vlogs aren't necessarily going to be like, this is happening right now. It might have been recorded like a few days before or the week before or whatever. But I do sometimes get a little bit passionate about politics these days. I mean, like, Brexit and Trump and what the fuck is happening to this world? You see, like, why do I stay alive in a world that is clearly fucked and I'm fucked? I stay alive because people want me to, you know. I've got a loving family, I've got a lot of friends, I've got my dogs, mostly Hope, he's run off somewhere. So people want me to stay alive, otherwise I wouldn't fucking bother. Cheerful, hey? Alright, 30 minutes is too long for a video. Turn off, you stupid piece of... Maybe, because I'm fucked up, I like making these guys. My dogs tear apart toys, and then I stitch them back together and put a little squeaker in them. I hope he loves the squeaker. Did you already break this one? Where is it? Got a bunch from China and all that. I post up pictures of these on Instagram, so yeah, zombie toy. You want it, Hopi? Go get it. Yeah. One thing I should say, like, I've been on a lot of medications, right? But, you know, I think about suicide a lot, but that's also how I, in a perverse way, keep myself safe. So I just, like, to let you know, I did have a massive stash of all kinds of drugs. But to stop me from being tempted to take them all at once and, like, I don't know what that would do to me. I'd probably just end up in hospital, so it's a terrible way to try and suicide. But just to stop me trying, I did give all my leftovers to Mum to, like, hide away. I think I also took some back to the pharmacist because they were technically ADHD drugs and I had to get some kind of government approval to be on them. So yeah, I took them back to the pharmacy, and maybe Mum took the others back to the pharmacy so that they could dispose of them, right? But yeah, basically, if you have a massive stash of those kinds of drugs that you're not using, you should probably get rid of them if you're the kind of person who's going to be tempted to try something. Just wanted to say that, like, before you're like, hey, you've got so many drugs. Yeah, no, I don't know where they are. I don't have access to them. Trying to keep safe and be sensible. All right, bye.